Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is Mitch. Good Thursday morning to you all. Hope you guys are doing well out there this morning and having a fantastic start to your day and a great week out there so far. Here to bring you the latest information on what's going to happen weather-wise for your Thursday. Of course, today is going to be very active. Already pretty active out there this morning with some strong to severe thunderstorms, some storms which are severe warned. No tornado warnings out there this morning or anything like that, but that could certainly change here in the coming hours into this afternoon. So we're going to break that down right here at the beginning of the video. So the video will be a little bit different than it typically is. But of course, we will have timestamps up throughout the video for you folks to take advantage of if your area is not going to be impacted by severe weather today and just want to jump to a certain section of the video. Of course, the timestamps will be there just like they always are. But we're going to get very detailed on the severe weather threats for this afternoon into this evening for that's really going to impact a good portion of the country. I mean, a very long, broad, severe weather threat risk is up for a large portion of the country. After we do that, we'll briefly discuss tomorrow's severe weather threat, but won't spend a lot of time on that just because there's so much out ahead of us over the next 24 hours. So if you guys have not subscribed, certainly consider doing that. Like the video if you like it. And just a quick reminder, some of this information could change here in the later updates. Typically on the day of a severe weather threat, the Storm Prediction Center does make a lot of tweaks, just the hours leading up to the unfolding of the severe weather episode that could potentially occur that day. So we're probably going to have changes. Some of the information in this video could change, just like it did yesterday when I made a morning video. But anyways, I'll definitely have all that information posted in the community tab and below this video, certainly after it drops here in the next hour or so. So if you guys got anything I can pray about or pray over, as always, please put those in the comments below so I can pray over it and so others can do so too. So let's get rocking and rolling. We got a lot of weather over the Midwest right now, even some severe warm storms like south of the Kansas City region. Of course, we had that tornado that ended up being confirmed by, many storm chasers. It would have been probably a very photogenic tornado if it didn't occur probably at night, but a lot of people couldn't see it. But it was certainly visible just because it happened right as the sun was setting. I haven't heard any big time damage that was done with this. I think it occurred mainly out in the open, but of course that is not confirmed quite yet. We don't know the rating of this tornado, but anyways, moving past that, we got a lot of weather kind of moving across areas of Missouri into northern Illinois and affecting northern Indiana, even some heavy rain into southern lower Michigan and northwest Ohio, some rain in southern Wisconsin, a little bit of a spin ongoing with a surface low, and of course it's snowing like crazy along the Front Range. Denver, it's snowing pretty good, and the snow's really starting to add up as I speak right now. So that's what's going on right now. Let's move on to the excessive rainfall outlook, and then we're going to discuss the Storm Prediction Center. I know typically we show that first right after the radar, but we're going to have a separate whole entire segment for that. Excessive rainfall, there is a threat for flash flooding today. We do have that 15% risk of flash flood guidance being met within 25 miles in a given location, so we'll watch out for that. And then we look at watches, warnings, and advisories. We do have ongoing severe thunderstorm watches in Missouri, large portion of Missouri here in these pink counties. And Illinois, the heart of Illinois, severe thunderstorm watches are up. Then we have all these winter weather alerts out west. Winter storm warnings, of course, up for the Denver area. We've been talking about this for a while. Winter storm warnings up for the higher elevations of Utah. We got winter weather advisories up for the higher elevations of Arizona. Places like Flagstaff could, pick up over a half a foot of snow. And then it's going to be quite breezy across the southwest again and just southern California, Sierra Nevada. We do have wind advisories and high wind warnings. Some fog in the panhandle of Florida. Outside of that, the eastern U.S. is pretty quiet. So let's take that broad look from the Storm Prediction Center, from the latest information from them. Another update will drop here in about 8:30, 9 o'clock most likely, but this is the latest information. We have had some changes since last night's video. Slight risk extends all the way from Ohio all the way to just about northeast Texas, east central Texas. Enhanced risk here in the middle, pretty large one. It's actually gotten a little bit bigger since they first issued an enhanced risk for today. Springfield included in this, Little Rock just about included, might as well say they are. Good portion of eastern, southeastern Oklahoma, very small section of northeastern sections of Texas. So that's a level 3 out of 5 risk. The yellow, level 2 out of 5. Dark green, level 1 out of 5 risk of severe weather. So let's go on and break down the risk criteria of this. A zoomed in look at the enhanced risk. I'm not going to spit out every single town and name And I know my folks in Missouri are like, what about us? I'm going to try to show you guys here in a second. But this is a closer look, a zoomed in look, which shows towns and cities on who, basically it's giving you an idea of what your risk level is for today. So I hope that helps. Freeze the screen if you need to. We zoom out, back out of that. We look at the tornado risk for today, the tornado outlook. And this has changed since last night's video. And I mentioned this, we kind of thought we would have a bump up from a 5 to a 10% risk of a tornado, and we have. And I will quickly mention, we could have an extension of this 10% risk of a tornado extended up into Missouri and Illinois. But as of right now, this is really confined to Arkansas, small section of southern Missouri, and eastern sections and southeastern sections of Oklahoma. In this yellow, there's a 10% risk of a tornado within 25 miles in a given location. Includes just north of Little Rock, like the Ozarks, Fayetteville, Conway, McAllister, Oklahoma, Fort Smith, Arkansas, and all these areas. 5% risk extends all the way into the nose of northeast Texas. What about winds? Winds have actually dropped, guys. We did have that 30% risk of winds exceeding 55 to 60 miles per hour. Now we have this, now we just have a 15% risk of winds exceeding 55 to 60 miles per hour. So they've actually dropped in confidence of damaging winds. So that's good. But the hail threat is still on, guys. If we do get a bump up to a moderate risk, it could be driven off hail potentially. I don't think we'll get a bump to a 15% risk of a tornado. But as of now, in the yellow, that is a 30% risk of hail exceeding 1 inch in diameter or larger. The red, if I said that, I'm getting my colors mixed up, guys. Pretty crazy. I guess I'm colorblind. The red is a 30% risk of hail exceeding 1 inch in diameter or larger. In the yellow, same criteria, but a 15% risk of hail exceeding 1 inch in diameter or larger. But you see the black outline region right here? That is a 10% risk of significant hail, which is hail exceeding 2 inch in diameter or larger. And I think we will absolutely get that today with these supercells that do develop. So go on and be prepared for that. Have a way to kind of protect your belongings, your cars. If there's a way to put it under something. I know not everybody has the luxury of having a garage or a carport, but certainly need to watch out for these areas. So, we kind of go back at this, and we're going to kind of do this on the fly, and then we look at this area. All right, and some of this could change, and we'll kind of zoom through this a little bit quicker, but I will obviously spend some time on this because I don't want to ignore my folks up here. And y'all bear with me a little bit. Let's go up into this. Nope, this, and that. Okay, and I know it doesn't show the town names in Missouri. I do apologize, but of course, St. Louis, Springfield, Columbia has that slight risk. Springfield has that enhanced risk. But, here's the rest of the Midwest and the Ohio Valley. And, of course, we just have a slight risk as of now. But, guys, I'm telling you, this could change. We could get this enhanced risk brought into Illinois. Would not be surprised one bit whatsoever. I think the player is, where does this warm front set up? So, slight risk does include all of central and southern Illinois, the heart of Indiana, right into central and east central Ohio. It does include Columbus and all these areas, and Dayton, Cincinnati, just in the moderate risk. Tornado risk, this is where I could see a 10% risk getting pulled into Illinois. We'll see what happens. But, Indianapolis, Lafayette, 5% risk of a tornado. Dayton, 5% risk of a tornado within 25 miles in a given location. Springfield, Illinois, 5% risk of a tornado. And then the winds, just that, 15% risk of winds exceeding 55 to 60 miles per hour. And then the hail threat, you don't have the 30% risk in this area. I could see this getting extended into this area. Just that yellow, 15% risk of hail exceeding 1 inch in diameter or larger. But you see the hatch risk kind of extending all the way into the heart of Indiana. Might as well include Indianapolis in this. This is where you have 10% risk of significant hail, which is that 10% risk of hail exceeding 2 inch in diameter or larger. So just wanted to get detail with you guys, show some town names and cities. Let's talk about the ingredients one more time, even though I said last night I wouldn't do this again. I think it's important to kind of show this just to kind of understand what's going on. We look at thermodynamics and kinematics, and then the lift in the atmosphere. So we look at this low-level moisture. It's already very humid this morning in Arkansas, Texas, eastern Oklahoma, Louisiana, etc. Okay? You'll notice in Illinois, Indiana, Kentucky, you'll notice the moisture in Missouri will increase throughout the day. It'll get more humid is what I'm trying to say. By the time we get into midday today, dew points are potentially in the 60s in St. Louis and then we'll extend this all the way into, the afternoon hours, okay? You got this pool of low-level moisture. Dew points are, exceeding over 60 degrees in the low to mid-60s, maybe even some upper 60s, kind of a secondary pool of moisture in this region. The warm front looks to be up here. This is what makes me think we're going to have an enhanced risk brought into this region right in here. I don't know if that's going to happen. We'll see. But we just got to watch. Maybe there's a capping mechanism in place that doesn't allow for widespread supercells to form, and I'll kind of show you what that means here in a second. But plenty of low-level moisture down here, aiding in, an elevated area of storm fuel, okay? And then this low-level moisture will kind of extend all the way into Ohio, and then we'll just kind of get this kind of rich, moist feed all the way up the Mississippi River, Mississippi Valley regions. It's going to basically drive the ingredients thermodynamic-wise for severe weather. And, of course, with the increasing moisture, you're going to have increasing CAPE levels, this storm fuel. I mean, already in eastern Oklahoma, you got CAPE levels later this morning reaching over 3,000 joules per kilogram, okay? And then you keep this going, this nose of high-end CAPE, the mixed layer CAPE, over 2,500 joules per kilogram here in central and south central Illinois. And then this nose of storm fuel, I mean, there's plenty of fuel down here in Arkansas. And you see how it gets kind of ate up right here? These are these storms forming and then eating up all that storm fuel. It's like this is gasoline, and the storms kind of need that gasoline to stay fueled and to stay ignited, if that makes any sense. And you keep this going, and this nose of CAPE will extend all the way into especially western, if I said eastern Ohio, I do apologize, western Ohio later on this evening. And then there'll still be some fuel in the atmosphere for these storms to really eat up as they start to surge into Kentucky and Tennessee into the overnight hours. Next thing you look at is the lift in the atmosphere. Okay, there's going to be plenty of it. All right, there's no point in spending a whole lot of time on this. You got this, 70 to 80 knot mid-level jet up here, creating a lot of lift in the atmosphere. The wild card is the low-level jet. How much of a low-level jet will you have? And I definitely think you will have one here that will aid in the low-level kinematics to drive the spin in the atmosphere for a tornado threat. And of course, you look down here, plenty of lift for these thunderstorms to get going and to be maintained up here. Okay, so certainly enough lift in the atmosphere kinematic-wise. So let's take a look at what the radar could look like today. This is around midday. Already some thunderstorms forming, potentially here, way over here along the Texas-Oklahoma border along the Red River. These storms will really continue to explode here in southern sections of Oklahoma, and they will kind of extend into eastern Oklahoma. Well, they will have the opportunity to produce all hazards, guys. I mean, damaging winds, large hail, a tornado threat. And we'll talk more about those storms as they head off into Arkansas here in a second. We'll focus more so on northeast Texas. But, these storms kind of might not really explode in northeast Texas until later this afternoon, this evening. But, guys, when they do, I'm telling you, they could produce all hazards, large hail, especially is the biggest threat. And then some storms could get going here around the Dallas-Fort Worth area, points west. We'll have to watch these and how they behave. And then these will kind of trail off into the night. This is getting after midnight. And then we'll have to watch more storms that get going around daybreak for our Friday morning. Okay, let's talk about Arkansas and how this can unfold. All right, there's that convection trailing off. And then you got to watch this area right into here, guys. This is the area that really could produce some nasty weather today. Okay, and you keep this going, and there's those storms that fire up. And I'm telling you, it's around 4 p.m. Central Time. Could have some storms firing up in this region, but I think this will be the all hazards kind of deal right here. Individual supercells trying to get going just southwest of St. Louis too. And, there's going to be plenty of lift in the atmosphere. And I'm telling you, all these storms, Fort Smith right here, Fayetteville, Tulsa right in here, Oklahoma City way back here. I think you're okay today for the most part. But these storms will, if they can maintain for about an hour or two kind of just a supercell discrete look, they will have the opportunity to produce a tornado, no doubt. But I think they will quickly kind of evolve into just more of a linear look, but they will still have the opportunity to produce damaging winds and very large hail. And then by the time we are into 7, 8 p.m., these storms are starting to creep a little bit closer to Little Rock. Storms are impacting all of western Arkansas, still rumbling through southeast Oklahoma. This is around 9 p.m. It's going to get very stormy up here. Down here in Little Rock. And, we got to watch all these storms right in here. They're kind of moving through all of southern Missouri, moves into the Boot Hill, Missouri. We could have some more of a discrete nature. We just have to watch. But this is when we can have a flooding scenario as these storms kind of start to slow down, as you kind of lose sort of the pushing mechanism to make these move more so kind of west to east, kind of starting to get more of a tilt. But you got to watch these storms here too. You know, western Tennessee, northern Mississippi later this evening. But these storms right in here could be producing mainly at this point large hail damage and wind, but you could still have an isolated tornado threat. And then they continue just to very slowly move. I mean, Memphis, the middle of the night tonight, nasty storms are possible. Please, you know, have a way to get alerts. I think large hail damage and winds. The biggest threats with this, all these storms kind of get displaced a little bit from the main, I would say, low-level kinematics, the favorable ingredients for more so tornadoes. But these storms will be packing a punch through northern Mississippi, moving into northern Alabama just before daybreak tomorrow, like the Huntsville area, Florence. And then they will kind of drift down into the deep south to greet you guys for your Friday morning, or like around Birmingham and places like that. The significant tornado parameter, I mean, it's already high this morning, right? But then it's going to spike with these individual storms, okay? It doesn't look very widespread, but you see these individual storms right in here. I mean, it's spiking to like a 9 or 10 on the what we call the STP. And guys, that doesn't mean there's a 9 out of 10 chance to be a tornado. The higher you numbers you see on this model output, the higher the ingredients for tornadoes. And of course, it really gets kind of consolidated to where these storms are. So it's indicating these storms have the opportunity to produce a tornado today around eastern Oklahoma, northwestern Arkansas. And then it does show it spiking kind of, just outside of this line of storms. But this could be skewed a little bit. Yeah, the ingredients are there, but we just got to watch. But it does continue to show some higher numbers as far as that significant tornado parameter all the way into the Mississippi River and the Delta region to the overnight hours. Okay? And then the updraft velocity swath. All right, let's go to 06Z. Really show some rotation with these storms, guys. Especially this line that gets going. But I'm telling you, don't ignore this up here. Where you see these highlighted colors, this is pretty much where it's showing where we have the best chance of rotating thunderstorms. All right, let's move up to the Midwest, Ohio Valley, and the rest of Missouri. Okay. All right, this main push of line of storms will continue to kind of chug through Illinois and then eventually Indiana today. Throughout the late morning hours, Indianapolis could get hit by a line of storms around lunchtime today. Please don't think that that's it with the storms. We could get some thunderstorms, up here in like southern lower Michigan, but I do think you're just lacking in pretty much thermodynamics for thunderstorms. And I think this line of storms will move all the way into western Ohio this afternoon, maybe pack a punch, some gusty winds, some hail. It's what develops after this. I think more so up here in northern Illinois. I think there's a more elevated in nature. I think, this is around the warm front, but you can't ignore them. I think more so a hail threat. But what I want you to look at is these individual cells into here, guys. You see this one right here, Peoria, just well south of Peoria. These cells, I'm telling you guys, these could produce a tornado. They could. They have that look to them. But just because they have that look to them, that don't mean they're necessarily going to produce a tornado, but we need to watch them. They kind of keep on going, right? All these individual cells, you notice they kind of start to get to discrete and more so semi-discrete, which means that they're starting to combine with other storms. It's around 6 p.m., nasty storms in central Illinois, even into Indiana, even into western Ohio. And I mean, all the way until about 8 p.m., the sun's beginning to set. Really bad storms, like several hours after a line of storms just moved through, begin to remove into Indianapolis. These storms could pack a punch down here. Central Ohio getting hit. And then they will kind of drift, start to take more of a southerly component as far as the direction they move as you get later into the evening. And then, they can still be rumbling through southern Ohio in the wee hours of the morning, well after midnight tonight. Some storms will kind of make their way through Kentucky and then eventually dive down into the southern Alps region. And of course, the significant tornado parameter with this line of storms that kind of moves through late morning, early afternoon, not very high. It's what happens behind this. Notice you have STP values of 5, 6, and 7s into here. This is why I do think there's a chance that this gets upgraded to a 10% risk of a tornado. Treat it like it has been already. That's what I would do. But, the significant tornado parameter is certainly, showing ingredients for tornadoes into the southern half of Illinois, central Indiana, southern Indiana, all the way into Ohio today. But there's a distinct cutoff in CATE values, storm fuel, once you get into central and eastern Ohio. So, you look at the updraft velocity swath into this region. And guys, I mean, it's just as excited for a tornado threat. I'm not mean excited like happy. I mean like the model is just showing more of a highlighted area. I don't want to offend nobody. Some people, I've had some comments in the past. It's like, Mitch, you act like you're excited for severe weather. Well, I'm not. That's not what I mean. But anyways, not to get off track here. But the updraft velocity swath does indicate rotation with these storms all throughout the Midwest and the Ohio Valley especially. So we got to watch out for this. And then these storms will continue to trail off into the southern Alps region. Okay, we could be dealing with some storms, through eastern Tennessee into the wee hours of the morning. Chattanooga could get hit by a line of storms tomorrow morning, and these make it all the way to Atlanta. And then we got to see what happens tomorrow as these storms continue to kind of chug down into Georgia and the Carolinas, see how much steam they're still packing. So we're going to roll through this. That's a severe weather update. Stay safe today. Rest of the Southeast today, guys, is rather quiet. We're not going to mention these storms because we already talked about them. The immediate Southeast, very warm day. The pollen will probably go crazy. Temperatures will get into the upper 70s to low 80s for a lot of areas. And we just got to watch those storms as they start to get closer tomorrow morning, knocking on the doorstep for a Friday morning to greet us in the deep south and the southeast as they move east of the Appalachian Mountains as we get deeper into our Friday. The Northeast, it's pretty quiet this morning. The moisture from this initial push of storms that we're seeing in the Midwest and Ohio Valley right now will start to move. It's this initial short wave. So it'll start to rain later this evening. It could be heavy at times in western PA, throughout New York State. As this begins to move into the higher elevations of the interior New England region, we could get a little bit of snow that mixes in these higher elevations. You got to get way up there after midnight tonight. And then we could end as a little bit of snow here in western and southwestern Maine, Vermont, and New Hampshire for sure. I just think for mainly the lower elevations, this could be just rain. So how much snow from this? Like I said, you got to get higher up there in the Adirondacks, Green and White Mountains. A couple inches of snow is possible when we go a little bit further up into Maine. And not a whole lot of snow expected from this, guys. You kind of got to get tucked into these higher elevated regions. The south central U.S., besides those storms we just talked about, we'll continue to get this snowstorm raging on in Colorado. As you can tell, snow is just dancing around the state of Colorado. We're going to zoom into this area here in a second. And this will certainly be falling in great intensity. This is getting all the way into tomorrow morning. I think the heaviest snow begins to shift into the higher elevations of New Mexico, southern Colorado for sure. But we've already mentioned these storms. Not going to talk about them again. So let's go on and zoom into Colorado. So we talk about what's going on in Colorado right now. It's snowing pretty good in Denver. This is some heavy stuff too. We'll continue to get an amplification of even heavier moisture as we move over the next hour or so in Denver. And where it's already been snowing, it'll snow even heavier. Colorado Springs, it's snowing like crazy right now. But we kind of make our way throughout the rest of the morning. Snow will get even heavier. Look at this heavier band of snow that kind of makes its way. That upslope flow really gets kicking later this afternoon as you get this kind of revamping of moisture right here in eastern Colorado. Rain could begin to switch to snow in eastern Colorado, and even areas kind of east of the Front Range will get some snow. This evening, it's an all-out snowstorm in Denver. I think that it will lessen up as we get into the overnight hours, but still snowing as we're waking up most likely Friday morning. Snowing more so heavily down here into the southern Colorado region, into northern New Mexico. We could get another push of snow, maybe all the way up to Denver tomorrow afternoon. But I think most of this begins to kind of shift off into the southwest with this cutoff low. Snowfall, I'll move through this very quickly. Cheyenne, 3 to 8 inches of snow. Latest information, Laramie, 2 to 10. Not sure how much snow you've already picked up. Arlington, 6 to 13 inches of snow. They don't have a great updated graphic for the Denver area, unfortunately, but here's kind of a zoomed out look at how much snow to be expected along the Front Range. Another 8 to 10 inches of snow in Denver, maybe more. But we will go a little bit south. They do have an upgrade graphic for the National Weather Service out of Pueblo, 1 to 5 inches of snow. And just freeze the screen if you need to. Read those names. Certainly a lot coming. The north central U.S., not a whole lot going on. Just some rain in southern Wisconsin. I think this will be a non-severe weather event. Moderate and heavy rain will move into central lower Michigan. And then we will certainly have those storms in the Midwest and the Ohio Valley. The rest of the north central U.S., maybe some flurries up in North Dakota today, later this evening, I would say. But as we are getting into tomorrow morning, a whole lot to talk about at all. Western U.S., only thing to really mention is most of this moisture will start to get shunted off into the higher elevations of New Mexico, Arizona, Utah, as we get into tomorrow, where we'll start to get several inches of snow. Even the Sierra Nevada could get some snow with this. We keep on moving this here, and we'll start to get this dramatic spin of moisture into Arizona, southern Utah, moisture in southern Nevada, California for sure. And this continues to spin around, guys, all the way into our Saturday. And snowfall from this, there's a kind of zoomed out look at this, but we kind of take a more zoomed in look at this, like Flagstaff, 6 to 8 inches of snow from this. And, I don't show this area a whole lot, but freeze the screen if you need to. We certainly do have a snow risk in these higher elevated regions. Temperatures today, man, warm day in the southeast, the mid-south, 70s and 80s in this entire region right in here. A little bit cooler in the northeast as always. A little bit cooler up here in the northern portion of the country. But certainly, it could hit 100 degrees in southern Texas today. So, out west, above average mainly, but you got this pocket of cooler air that's driving this snow threat with that upslope flow, bringing all that moisture. Around average to slightly maybe above average for certain areas, temperatures-wise, in like California and the southwest. So, sorry I'm speeding through this, running out of time, guys. Got to get the girls to school. But we do have that marginal risk of severe weather for tomorrow across the deep south. A little baby slight risk here in southern areas of Texas. We'll speak more on this here in the video to come. God bless, stay safe, and have a great day.